Hey everyone, Gaijin Goomba here, and oh man, it's that time of year again! It's Zelda month! That wonderful time of year where the gaming YouTuber community celebrates all things Zelda. And what great timing too, as the next big Breath of the Wild DLC pack, the Champion's Ballad, featuring a new dungeon and story quest, is coming out in December. With all the Zelda hype in mind, I wanted to go back and have another look at Breath of the Wild in a cultural light, because like I said back in my first video on the game, there's like 5 different things I could talk about, and at this point in time, that number is still growing. However, there's been one group I've been dying to talk about that debuted in Breath of the Wild, the Yiga clan. Because while the Sheikah may have subtly borrowed designs and architecture from Japan's Jomon period, as I mentioned in that previous video, the Yiga beat you over the head with ninja culture so hard, you're gonna be coughing up Naruto memes. And surely that revelation is actually pretty simple, right? I mean, in just fighting them, you can see their shinobi influences. They do hand mudras to teleport, they disguise themselves as travelers only to attack you when your guard is down, strike at you from the shadows, and they're agile as heck. Just get over here. Ugh. But there are also more real and hard influences that have been pulled from the past that connect the Yiga to actual ninja culture and history. Granted, real history of the ninja is nightmarishly esoteric at best, but there's still a lot to take in when it comes to the Yiga clan in Breath of the Wild. Like their primary weapon, the vicious sickle for example. A lot of people are still under the impression that ninja predominantly use swords as their go-to weapon, which historically isn't even close to being true. Katanas and ninjato were both incredibly expensive to make and took upwards of 3 months just to make one. Ninja clans also lived in isolated self-governing communities mostly as farmers, so they didn't exactly have a lot of money to mass-produce swords. Finally, the average katana was over 3 pounds in weight and over 2 feet long. Not exactly the easiest thing to carry around while climbing on the ceiling. Thus, the various ninja clans had to utilize what they had as farmers as weapons, and a particular farming tool, the kama, became one of the most iconic weapons of the ninja's arsenal. Highly adaptable with modifications like weights and chains, able to disarm and dispatch their sword-wielding enemies in a flash. Thus, I find it really interesting that the Yiga primarily wield a sickle rather than any kind of sword. I mean, yeah, the Yiga brutes carry around a sword that would give the Tessaiga a run for its money, but you don't encounter them all that often. Instead, you usually end up getting ambushed by the more scrawny boys, which is yet another thing that really link the Yiga to real-life ninja. Unlike how most of popular media sees shinobi in their black masks and jumpers, actual ninjas spend most of their time hiding in plain sight, dressed as farmers, travelers, monks, even ladies of the evening, all acting as agents for recon and occasionally assassinations. The Yiga, in turn, act in similar fashion. Link encounters them in all corners of Hyrule dressed as travelers and common folk, completely unaware of their true identities until they make their attack. In Breath of the Wild, unless you've memorized their spawn points, it's almost impossible to determine who's a commoner and who's a Yiga agent in disguise, hiding in plain sight as they track down Link to ambush him. The Yiga could be anyone, man or woman, traveler or merchant, or even Iwata? Wait, it all makes sense now! Okay, on the topic of those freaking bananas, I've had people time and time again ask me over the last 8 months of this game's existence, why do the Yiga obsess over them? So let me take a quick break from all this ninja talk for just a second so I can finally put this thing to bed. Bananas are quickly becoming Japan's favorite fruit, as reflected in a survey by the Japanese Banana Importers Association. Yes, that is actually a real thing. In it, 65% of the general public said they regularly ate them. And in fact, according to the JBIA, I still can't believe that's a thing, bananas make up 60% of Japan's fruit imports. And all this information was taken as late as 2014. So maybe it's just a coincidence, but it wouldn't surprise me if Japan's growing love of bananas didn't make its way into Breath of the Wild. Alright, we cool? Alright, back to it then. So we've covered the Yiga clan's weapons, techniques, and bananas. But honestly, all of that is small potatoes when it comes to the one thing that really makes the Yiga stand out as authentic ninjas in gaming. Their hideout. I'm serious. As soon as you get to the Yiga clan's base of operations, all semblance of subtlety when it comes to their cultural references just goes right out the window. And in its place is an outpost so wrapped up not only in ninja culture, but Japanese culture in general that it makes Bowser's Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey look like a discount anime convention. When you first start making your way into the Yiga's base of operations through the Karusa Valley, you start seeing these long tethers of rope and what look like and sound like panels of clackers just overhead. Well, at first I thought it was merely decor. After doing some research, I've come to find that these are strikingly similar to a bamboozling ninja trap known as Naruko clappers. Originally used to keep wild animals out like the shishiodoshi or deer scare, Naruto clappers were small cylinders or slabs of wood strung up on ropes that would make a horrible clattering noise should anything trip on it. Though originally used by farmers, ninja would create extensive networks of Naruto so large that should a human or animal trip it, the long stretch of clappers would rattle for nearly a mile long. And that's only the first ninja-ism you discover heading into the Yiga clan hideout. As you continue to progress, you find dozens, and I mean dozens, of medium-sized frog statues. We learned from Pai and Kakariko Village that originally the frog statues are actually guardians that guide the path of the Sheikah. And let's be real here, the Sheikah are also pretty dang ninja. Now, a lot of you guys have probably seen that trope of ninjas associated with frogs in gaming for quite some time now. Heck, the first time I remember seeing it as a kid was back in Mega Man 6, and 20 years later I'm still seeing it in modern games like Neo and Persona. But while at first I thought there was some kind of mystical relationship between the two, the connection actually comes from an 18th century novel called The Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya. Long story short, it's a tale about how an evil snake ninja named Orochimaru usurped the Ogata clan and tried to kill its sole heir, Hiroyuki Ogata. However, an old toad sage named Senso Dojin rescued Hiroyuki and trained him in the ways of ninjutsu and toad magic. When his training was complete, Hiroyuki took on a new name, Jiraiya, and together with his lover Tsunade, reclaimed his father's throne from the terrible Orochimaru.